am the Executive Director of the Christensen Center for Vocation. Great to see you all here. Thanks for coming out. This is one day of a long series we've been doing now for a year and a half called Uncovering Vocation. So the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, we invite a different member of the Augsburg community to come here in this space during this time to share part of their vocation story. So it's been really fun getting to know our community better. It's a great place to come and be inspired by. This campus is full of incredibly interesting people and their stories about how they found their way here and why they do the work they do. It's just fascinating. So I really encourage you to keep coming if you have the time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Our next one will take place in a couple weeks. Will be Dr. Kristen Chamberlain, who's a professor in our Department of Communication Studies, Film, and New Media. But today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Jennifer Butler, our Director of Multicultural Life. That's when you go, Jennifer received her PhD in Asia-Pacific Studies from National Chen Qi University in Taipei, Taiwan, where she focused on financial behaviors, financial literacy, and self-efficacy. Jennifer is a lifelong collector of stories, an educator, and an advocate for inclusive excellence and equity. She recognizes that success as a student comes both inside and outside of the classroom, and purposefully works to support underrepresented communities as they navigate higher education. She accomplishes this work by empowering students through a framework of self-advocacy, helping those around her believe in their capability to succeed. So join me in welcoming Jennifer Butler.
Notes here, PowerPoint there, clicker here. All right, good morning everyone. When I was emailed about potentially speaking at one of Jeremy's Vocation chapels, I thought, wow, there's so many unique and great stories to share here at Augsburg. The odds of me speaking anytime soon are really quite slim. Joke's on me. We asked in December and clearly here we are in March. So I'm going to be honest. When I started thinking about this chapel, I Googled, what is vocation? And while the Google results didn't quite clarify things, I remembered something from my time working at the College of Business and Analytics at Southern Illinois University. This concept of EEI that expresses find what you're good at, find what you love to do, find what you can get paid for, and find what the world needs. So today, I'm going to hurry us through my journey of finding. So, for those who don't know, I'm a transracial adoptee. When I was a few months shy of my second birthday, I was adopted by these two loving individuals. I spent a lot of my early days watching and taking in the sights of what was happening around me. I was in an unfamiliar place. I was with unfamiliar people. I was surrounded by unfamiliar practices, and I felt alone. But to say I felt alone might be confusing to some because I was constantly surrounded by my new doting parents, their excited families, their happy friend groups, and people to compare to. Being adopted has made me sensitive to and aware of the importance of belonging, the importance of having support, the importance of community or family or support system, and makes me aware that when life and personal stuff occur, it can fully impact your ability to thrive and succeed. So fast forward to me graduating high school. When I graduated high school, I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I just knew, hey, I'm off to college. I started at my local community college. There I had a professor who encouraged me to look into the exciting field of actuarial science. Not wanting to be a teacher like my mother, not really being passionate about anything other than the fact that I did not like chemistry, I decided to give it a go. I transferred to the University of Texas at San Antonio. This was a huge change. I had to live on campus, I was away from my family, I didn't know anyone, and I had to take calculus because those were the classes I had always done well in, and it also meant I didn't have to be a teacher like my mother. I found friends, I made new friends at my new university, and my friends are now talking about this cool new thing called graduate school. Now, during my time in college, my mother started a speaking debate club for students 12 to 18 years old. My brother was learning how to be a competitive debater, and as one who lives at home often does, I got sucked into the family project. But it turns out I actually was really good at teaching young novice debaters about debating policy. I know I said I didn't want to be a teacher, but it was interesting teaching 12-year-olds how to be effective communicators. I love that moment when it all clicked and came together, when they realized how to defend their debate cases, when they learned that listening is just as important as speaking during the debate round, when they learned just how powerful their voices were as they shared ideas on topics most 12-year-olds don't talk about, like dependency on foreign oil, African trade policies. But what stood out to me the most was this one young newbie. He and his debate partner were energetic, preteen boys who probably wanted to be doing anything except debate. But shortly into that experience of learning how to debate and practicing being a communicator, that young student of mine was tasked with giving the eulogy at his father's funeral. Forget the rules of debate. Forget the implication of U.S. foreign policy. He was learning to communicate and to be a communicator for this and so many other moments in his life. And that's when it dawned on me. I value helping people find their voices. I'm passionate about equipping people with the skills needed to speak and advocate for themselves. So still thinking teaching was not for me. I poured myself into political science classes. I graduated with a rehabilitated GPA and professors who were happy to write me letters of rec. So now I found something I'm good at. Off to grad school I go. I found a small private liberal arts university that had a graduate degree in international relations, where I could specialize in international development and learn about theories such as the capabilities approach for self-advocacy, which really resonated and meshed with my newfound passion for equipping people with tools they need to succeed. So in graduate school, I continued exploring themes of advocacy, empowerment, self-advocacy, and yes, education. When I say I took that campus by storm, I mean I was everywhere. I was in so many student boards, I served on so many committees, I worked for the ambassador in residence, the former U.S. ambassador to the lease, and I decided to write a master's thesis, so I spent a lot of time with my thesis supervisors, the grad IR faculty, and the amazing research librarians. My experience at St. Mary's University in San Antonio was unlike any other. It was a small enough campus that everyone knew everyone, and anyone who stepped foot on the campus could sense the Mariners' commitment to belonging, community, service, and justice. While at St. Mary's, I got the opportunity to work as the director of forensics, teaching and coaching competition speech and debate students. My students would go on to compete in regional and national competitions. While I could talk about their many awards and accolades, I simply want to put it out there that these former students of mine who were honing their communication skills then are now all in roles of advocacy today. They are using their voices to advocate and empower others. So things are starting to come together. I found something I was good at. I found something I at least liked to do, and somehow I found a way to get paid a little bit for doing it. So, as I started out with my grad program, those dreadful questions of what's next started popping up, and I had a few opportunities that just didn't feel exactly right. So one of my grad school mentors suggested, let's apply to this new experimental PhD program in Taiwan. And I was kind of like, okay, well, that's the worst that can happen. Well, I applied. I got accepted. I bought a one-way ticket to Taiwan, wedged what I thought I might need into 2 suitcases and hugged my family goodbye. At this point, I had attended a community college, a couple of 4-year universities, a private graduate school, so I felt like I kind of knew how to navigate higher ed. Well, no. I'm now in a new country, a new culture, with a new way of doing things. So having come off of that really great experience in grad school, and now knowing the importance of having that sense of belonging belonging I had become accustomed to before leaving for Taiwan. Now, fast forward through my adventures abroad, I came back to the US in February of 2020, just at the start of something big. Yes, COVID. I managed to catch one of the last flights out of Taipei before much stricter protocols and widespread cancellations of flights occurred. So, I moved back to the States to be closer to my family, but also to put my shiny PhD to good use. I had gotten a job at Southern Illinois University in a town called Carbondale, where I had never visited and I knew no one. I was hired to lead the equivalent of the Multicultural Life Office for SIU's College of Business and Analytics. And in that role, at the beginning of a pandemic, I was tasked with making sure that the college's students felt engaged, like they had a community, and even though things were remote, that they had a sense of belonging. Not exactly the easiest task when people aren't in a face-to-face capacity. I threw myself into earning the trust of students, building relationships with staff and faculty, and understanding the geographical community I had just joined. Southern Illinois was new to me. I was able to do some amazing firsts for SIU and the students I served. I had excellent relationships with campus partners, and I was really happy with the job. And I wasn't really looking to move when here comes Augsburg. So, one of my mentors told me that kind of 2 to 3 years into a role, I should look at job postings of jobs being offered in areas that I'm in and interested in growing into. That way, I could see the knowledge, the skills, the responsibilities that are part of those roles and find ways to incorporate them into the current role that I have. So toward the end of the spring semester of my 3rd year at SIU, I was lightly doing those searches, but I was mostly playing awesomeness for my office in the fall 2023 semester. And that's when I ran across the Augsburg job posting. I was curious. I hopped on y'all's website to see more about Augsburg, and I was like, oh, hey, y'all are potentially like the Lutheran version of my grad school? And I didn't really think that much of it until I started creeping on the social media of the student boards. Yo, Augsburg students were doing so much. And I was like, wait, what, whoa, hold on, how are y'all so engaged coming out of the pandemic? So y'all should really thank my mother. She encouraged me to apply so I could talk to the interviewer and get a sense of what was going on with this campus. So, poor Joanne and Taylor. I had a 30-minute screener with them wedged between a whole bunch of craziness because on my end, I was in the middle of a high school summer camp college takeover with high school students from all over Illinois. I slid into that Zoom meeting, scattered but excited to ask questions. All I had to do was get to the part where they asked, so what questions do you have for us? And then I could pounce. I could ask about their student involvement. I could make sense of what specialness was going on with their campus, and of course bring it back to mine. Joanne and Taylor were so nice, and Joanne went on and on about the great things about Augsburg, answering my questions and not rolling her eyes, and left the interview with, and I left that interview with new thoughts from my office, and went back to my chaotic summer camp experience. Well, I got an email later saying that Augsburg would like to invite me for another round of interviews, and I went, uh-oh. The thought really hadn't crossed my mind that I could work at Augsburg. I had been on a fact-finding mission. And now I have a full-fledged multi-interview opportunity in a state I've never been to. So once again, y'all really should thank my mother. She encouraged me to do it for the experience. I'm sorry, but who does 4 interviews back to back to back for the experience? And as I say, the rest is history. I packed up my stuff in Carbondale, once again, moved to a place I had never visited, a place where I had 0 friends, all to start a new job. So why do I do that? Why did I do that? It's because through the interview process, I saw Augsburg's intentionality. I saw its dedication to community, to supporting students, and how it valued belonging. Extra credit for all of you. Oxford values the things I love and I'm passionate about. Strangely enough, close your ears. This is an actual job. They pay me for this.